Hey, what's up, everybody? It's me, Danae, and I'm here with a message for you. I'm going to cut the deck a few times and get right on into it. I would like to say I don't have any channeled message at all, which I guess I really don't, and which I'm going to share. But let me just say that Spirit has been speaking loudly and boldly to me in ways that honestly I've never even heard before. But I don't believe that now is the time to share these messages, but they are coming soon, so stay tuned. In any event, I hope that you're doing well on this. What is this? What is today? It's Thursday? I know it's the 21st. Yeah, I think it's Thursday, the 21st. I almost feel compelled to switch this, but I won't right now. I'm gonna take it just like this. Because anybody that thinks they're getting over on the Queen of Wands, pardon me, Queen of Swords, y'all please forgive me, because when I read when I look back at my messages, sometimes I get so angry with myself when I'm like saying the wrong suit and stuff like that. It's just because my mind is like going a million miles a minute. And I'm just saying stuff sometimes, and I know what I'm meaning to say, but like say I say the Seven of Wands or the Queen of Wands for even a better example, when this is clearly the Queen of Swords. So please charge it to my head literally and not my heart that I mean well, but just sometimes my mind is moving faster, as the Queen of Swords honestly often is. Her processor is just accelerated beyond the ordinary, quite honestly. This is air sign energy on both accounts, but certainly with the Queen of Swords, it could be any air sign, Libra, Gemini, Libra, or Aquarius, ultimately. And this is the Seven of Swords, which is someone that has the intention of getting away with something, that to steal or destroy or, oh, and there's the siren. That's actually a fire truck that I had heard earlier, and it sounded so close. This is interesting. It'll probably resonate. It sounded so close, so I kept looking out windows and stuff. I'm like, where is it? Where is the fire? Because it was so close that I could hear the siren. And I didn't see it out of any of the windows, that I was looking out of in my common areas. So when I came into my bedroom to do the reading, I looked out the window and I see like the very tail end of a fire truck that must be dealing with some issue that's a little bit, down the street from me, but I could just see the tail end of it. This is the tail end of someone who's looking, trying to pull some wool over somebody's eyes. And ultimately, they're going to meet their own demise. That's pretty much what the Seven of Swords gives. Like they're trying to create some disadvantage or destruction in someone else's life. Now, obviously, it's nothing too serious, or we'd be evacuating or something in this complex, but it's enough of an emergency in one regard that it called for authorities. And maybe that's why I'm saying this, is that somebody is probably running right into thinking they're getting away with something that's unjustified, and they're probably going to find against the queen who is justified, mind you. We're talking about someone who operates in truth and ethical, in the high vibration, let's say, in the highest vibration of the queen. She operates in truth and ethical standards, honorable, integral. And I'm glad that I did allow them to stay this way, because perhaps if he was running into her, it would be a different message. It might even speak to the vibration of the queen herself, that maybe she is dishonest. But I get the sense that it's someone who's trying to do something dishonest and deceitful to her, or thinking that they got away with such. And with sword energy, that could be communication, that could be somebody, it may not even be physical, but I mean, words are harmful, aren't they? They can be. You know, we used to say sticks and stones may break my bones, but words may never hurt me. But in actuality, words have a lot of power. So with all this sword energy, and the 7 and the 1 is the 8. What's the 8 of Swords? Oh yeah, oh hell yeah. 8 of Swords is like trying to put someone in a mental or spiritual prison or psychological prison. So someone could be going around lying, you know, giving out false information is what the 7 of Swords can be on someone who is honorable. Look at that. And now I'll take that as confirmation. I'm not going to take this, but you see this? 2 of Swords energy, keeping someone that has no idea perhaps what's being said about her or what's being projected about her character by some yeah, that's a confirmation right there. Somebody's talking hella shit, running their mouth like the endless well about who she is. But what's the irony is that I'm picking up here is that the information that's being spewed is actually working for her benefit, you know, which is the funny part, right? Because that's the whole key with the 7 of Swords. It's like they think they're getting away with something, but it usually ends up backfiring on them in some regard. So it's like for every lie or even, because it usually with the 7 of Swords, he's a liar, period. But it could be distorted truth. You know what I mean? It could be something that somebody says about you that has a ring of truth, but just is not quite holistically the truth, you know? And I also get the sense that it's someone that's close to the Queen of Swords because he has proximity, or at least is presenting himself to be, or at one point in time was. With look, even these 2 swords in the past, right? And once upon a time, he had some level of intel on the Queen of Swords as she is, and is basically deceitful to carry that information on, where usually for the 7 of Swords, some personal gratification or agenda of sorts, you know. It's very diabolical though, definitely not for any positive result, especially unto the Queen. But like I said, the irony here is that, yeah, he's running his mouth endlessly, but it's really only projecting positive things. Like, consider somebody that's going around talking a whole bunch of crap, but then when people go, you know, it sparks curiosity, so people go to actually look like, well, let me see what he's talking about. So you go to look and see what's going on with this so-called Queen of Swords, and it's either the very opposite of what was told to you, so that gets revealed right then and there, and it actually sheds a different light on who she is in totality. So it's like this water is almost giving me like baptizing vibes in a sense, like it washes away the filth, the grime that was ultimately thrown on her name by way of, say, a smear campaign, which is very popular, especially in narcissistic behaviors or abuse or exchanges of sorts. If you've ever been on the other side of that, one of the top tier tactics is to smear your name, to go around and tell people the very opposite about you, or even in a projective sense. That's what this is giving me as well, especially with the swords and then this reflective water. It's like almost trying to exchange your honor for their filthy rags, you know. So for instance, a person that has a nature such as this, going around telling people, projecting what they do onto you and selling it as your characteristics. Like, oh yeah, she's a liar, she's a manipulator, she's, you know, all types of stuff. I'm speaking of the Queen of Swords, you know, she's dishonest, which is a liar too, right? She's stupid. That's the adverse of the Queen of Swords. Like she's not very bright, you know, all these other things that they could say that would be opposite of who you really are. the funny part about it is actually more of a projection of either who they actually are or at least what they think of themselves, you know? So all of that gets washed away with the highest spirit of integrity here with the Ace of Cups, because everything gets balanced. It all comes out in the wash, as I like to say often. Like nothing goes unnoticed by spirit by any means, you know? Even when people think they're getting away with stuff, it always is justified in the end. So we got the Six of Swords, again, more sword energy. It's just like, that's way too many. It's like a lot of mental and psychological energy here. So perhaps the Seven of Wands character, another alarm. The Seven of Wands character is one that likes to play a lot of mind games. So not only does he like to tell lies quite, flat out, he likes to play mind games. Nope, you're not gonna take my voice, not today. He likes to play mind games on the target that he identifies, but also with the people that he plays with. He enjoys. There's something about this character beyond what gratifies him to project negative energy onto this person or onto other people in general. It's all a matter of self-exaltation, because if he can make other people's characters pale in his comparison, then he looks like the honorable man, right? Like I said, that projective piece. But it's also him just really getting a kick, like really getting his jollies off and distorting truths and making people see things for one way that just actually are not, It's very sick, actually. It's unfortunate for anybody to have live on that type of vibration, because like I said, not only is it damaging to whom the target is or who's vulnerable to his antics, it ultimately is self-sabotaging, because that energy can't persist. No matter how long it doesn't have an eternal shelf life. Eventually it expires itself and whomever is attached to it. So we got the Six of Swords. Here I go again. Six of Swords here with somebody crossing over into, that could even be the Queen of Swords, like crossing over from, let's see, why was she, and look at here. The King of Swords, yeah, crossing over. Struggling with my throat. Give me a second, let me get some water. Because this guy don't want me to talk. Hold on. Pardon me. Oh, hilarious. But anyway, we got the Six of Swords. This is about crossing over from turbulent times and experiences, also mentally and psychologically. So who knows the damage that was incurred to this queen on account of her character or just her mental stability to know, considering, like, I'm really getting the sense that a lot of what was said, she's not even aware of, because like I said, her back is turned. He's going the opposite way and feeling as though he's definitely, got one up on her. So there may be some things with the Queen of Swords. There's definitely this essence of intuition there, especially when we're talking about Libra and Aquarius. There's just a certain knowing in their being, even Gemini for sure. Like all the air signs, just their processors are on another level. They're not the most sensational people in that regard. They can be a bit aloof at times, so it's said. But in terms of like that, like telepathy and just that intuition, just natural knack for just the truth is there with any of the earth signs. Any of the air signs. So you got the King of Swords here. Now, I would like to say that the King of Swords is the masculine aspect of this this queen, but I just don't feel that, especially coming up under this this baptizing that's happening. This is what I feel is the fallback. Got it. Okay, Spirit. So like I was saying, this was the exchange of character, where this is the true nature of whom he is, up against the Queen of Swords, who is honorable and integral and blah, 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 blah. Who he wanted to present himself to be is in this form here with the King of Swords. This was for the purposes of that projection that I've been talking about, where he wanted to present himself to be this, exalt himself as this honorable man of valor and highly moral and ethical, with high standard and justified, and very smart, intelligent, ingenious in his own right. All these wonderful things. Like, this is the persona that this character wanted to present by way of, ultimately, like I said, this is like a baptizing or an anointing, him anointing himself as such by way of this activity here, by the smearing and the distortion of truth. In actuality, he wasn't very honest at all. That's the true nature of him there. The Six of Swords is about crossing over. It's even, what is it usually, like reconciliation, perhaps? Let's see. What am I hearing? I feel an energy of, like I'm hearing steal away in my head. Something dark about this, especially the Six of Swords. Yeah, it's like he was trying to stow away. Like, literally, it is in the stealing, but the steal away energy to me is something else. Like, this is something dark under the surface that he's actually concealing as to what he really is about under the surface. And if you get into it, there's like a mother and a child in this picture. And when I'm hearing steal away, it's like he's almost trying to like capture innocence, innocence and the exuberance of the feminine energy, and like captivate it for himself. Again, it's all feeding his ego and his appearance, but down in the gutter of it all, this is who he really is, that he'll literally like throw, I feel like he would throw that woman and child over, throw them in the water over that boat in a minute if it meant that he has something to gain from it, which ultimately is this appearance of stability and power and creativity. Yeah, I'm gonna take some more, but something is weird here. Like he's trying to capture the essence of like he put himself in place of the anointing that is due to others. And like back to that still killed, that's what that I haven't said that today, which I usually do say, that this energy is like intentional about stealing, killing, and destroying whatever is in his path, whatever stands to be a casualty on account of whatever he's trying to do. So again, in this regard, that's character, but there's something else here. It's like maybe the stability and security. That's what it is. That's why I'm feeling insecure, like unsafe with him. He's not a safe character to be around. His intentions are very poor, like I said, stark opposite of what he's presenting. If he feels a threat, there are two things that incite him to ultimately swing that sword in an adverse way, not in the sword of truth way, but in an attack. If he feels a threat to this persona, or he feels there's an advantage to gain to maintain it. And in this regard, it's kind of speaking to both, because this is what he's looking to maintain, this appearance of happy life, happy wife. The King of Swords and the Queen of Swords are even divorcees, and they are on two different levels in this regard. Now, what I'm saying is that this is more someone who is upright, but if you consider the implication in general, there perhaps is some failed relationship experience here that has him now sitting in a solo position, still trying to maintain this appearance of power and prestige, even by way of some so-called like power couple persona or presentation, because that's what the Four of Wands gives me sometimes when it's a little shaky vibe. Whereas like it looks like a picture perfect scene, looks like they're living their best life, but it's all from a distance. You don't really know what's going on behind those walls, or when you get closer, there are more details to really observe that one could only really see if you were in close proximity. From a far distance, it does look like everything is great, everything is awesome. So I'm gonna keep going, because I'm stuck here at this Six of Swords as to why that's giving me vibes, because usually it's very much so. Maybe he's trying to keep, see what I'm saying? Like, I be knowing. Shout out to Mami Wata. Mami Wata Tarot, because she do be knowing. She's powerful. But Five of Swords is something ain't right here. It ain't right. This is someone that's also, this is jealousy, this is envy. What the frick is he envious about in regards to the Six of Swords, though? He's perhaps envious that okay. This is somebody, as usual, it's not even that surprising, but this is somebody who has past regressive issues, especially when I'm seeing a mother and a child, and the area beyond this crossover moment is gray. This is someone that has psychological issues from childhood, that still has an issue with his mom, perhaps, or because it's like this is him, but it's almost like he's looking, there's a certain envy and jealousy that's been deep rooted in him in regards to where maybe he lacked some stability, particularly mentally and psychologically, maybe support even as a child. There was some imbalance here that is still plaguing him to this day. That's what fuels him to do the things that he does against women, particularly honorable women, to sully their name and desecrate their character, because there was something that occurred, or some things perhaps that occurred when he was younger that that have been unresolved. That's why I keep looking at this like, why is, and this is the jealousy of it all, where he's, always defensive and quite honestly offensive in some regard, even, disarming those in his path consistently over and over again, on account of just being, I don't even know, like I did say, narcissistic behavior and tendencies and things like that. So there was something that was bruised by way of his ego, or an unfavorable experience here that has caused him to just ultimately lash out on people that have the promise of a crossover existence. Maybe it's like, this is what I hear, like he doesn't like, he feels some type of way towards people that appear to have it easy. That's what this is too, that have a stable life, or have a stable path, or that seem to have like something characteristically that he thinks would make his path easier, that he would be better off with. or this is the jealousy and envy. And it's like, it's very distorted because, anybody that's looking outside of themselves in that regard has some type of imbalance, and one which they need to be baptized. As a matter of fact, they need to come to Jesus moment for real, because, if we're measuring ourselves in such a diabolical way to the point where he's willing to almost punish those that he identifies as having it too good or having it better than him or having something that he desires to have by way of some repressed or regressed memory or experience of when he lacked. That's what I'm getting from here, because Six of Swords is about crossing over from two peaceful and calmer waters energetically and emotionally, but it's obviously coming from some type of turbulent experience. There's some way that he felt disenfranchised or disadvantaged as a younger person, maybe in opportunities, I don't know, where he wished things had come to him more easily, or he wished he had a more stable life, or more, the nuclear, everything is awesome type of life. So when he sees that or sees any potential for that, he stomps all over it, and ultimately begins to absorb that energy for himself in a way that obviously has been fueling him by way, it's like fake love in a sense was given me here with this exchange. This is not the Holy Spirit, this is not, what did I hear when I heard the Ace of Cups earlier? It was, what is the word? It'll come to me later, but I heard, not even during this reading, I was thinking about the Ace of Cups, and there was a term that came to me, and I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. But there's something devoid in his reception of love and acceptance of love that has been going on since he was a kid. And because it's continued on up until, this is going from childhood that he always returns back to, and that's what continues to encourage this poor behavior, reckless behavior, as a matter of fact, because it's something that he hasn't reconciled with, some lack that he's identified and ultimately has measured himself by all of these years, that compels him to look outside of himself for personal assurance. And when he sees something that reflects to him that picture again, it incites him to anger and resentment, and pretty much compels him to these tactics and means that ultimately would cause casualties in his life on account of his desire for the creativity, the creative force. I hope that makes sense. This is wild. All right, yeah, we got the Ten of Cups here, definitely about family. Yeah, and that's what he's after, this legacy. Let me see what else we got. The Ten of Cups, I'm sorry, Ten of Pentacles. Did I say Ten of Cups the first time? I don't remember, but it's definitely not that. The Ten of Pentacles. Ooh, that was a devil that popped in and popped out. I'm getting a sense, yeah, I was just going to say that too. I was like, I'm getting a sense that he defeated himself. It's like he was going for the facade of this perfect life, whereas perhaps there was a potential for the material essence, because this is energetic, right? This is the creativity, maybe even, how can I say, like, I guess I'm hearing fantasy, so I'm just going to say it. That's not holistically what this card represents, but that was the ideal, the fantasy of the perfect life, the projection of it, the energy of it, even, with somebody that gives off the vibe that they got it going on, even if deep down inside, obviously, they really don't. But that's the projection that they give off. And so that's what they lead with. And appearances mean everything to someone that's ultimately superficial. What it looks like matters more than what it actually is. But the thing is, it looks like that he actually played himself out of position for something that could have been real and authentic and material by way of the Ten of Pentacles, which is something, that don't come easy, the Ten of Pentacles. First of all, it's inherited energy. So that's something that more or less you have to be entitled to by way of your, like, it has to be divine to you in a sense, or how can I say it? Like, consider an inheritance. You don't just get all of what somebody's left behind on account of just being a relative. Even you have that has to be assigned to you, is what I'm saying. And there's some way that he's been trying to forge himself into this assignment of an inheritance, of this exuberance of wealth and just dynasty and legacy. He's been trying to force his way into some, literally with the Five of Swords. This is deeper than what I'm seeing, and I know I'm gonna see it later when I watch it back. But he's been trying to force his way into some inheritance that ultimately does not belong to him, or that he at least hasn't proven himself. It's like you're out the will, is what I hear. It's like you may have had, once upon a time, you may have had the potential to be connected to this dynasty. I'm even hearing it in a spiritual sense now, where because of his actions and the intentions that he's harbored, he had chances to heal. Literally, this is, okay, I get it. He had chances to be baptized, to repent, to change his mind, to change his ways, to see life in a different regard, even on account, in spite of and in light of his experiences. Because our experiences, are as unfavorable as they may even be, are all for the purposes of gaining us stability in this life. It's an invitation, if you receive it, to transcend and transmute the most unfavorable trauma and toxicity in your life and create a strong foundation on account of it, but it has to be an invitation that's received and answered. Like, you got to show up for the healing. If you're going to RSVP, you got to show up. It's like he RSVP'd as a King of Swords who's honorable and integral and, trustworthy and all this good stuff, but he never really showed up to the party. He just kept having his own little side party and secret, his own secret party for one, ultimately, with still sunken in this place of resentment and regret for his circumstances, instead of seeing the value of what they have ultimately gained him by way of wisdom and experience, and transmuting that into something that would be stable, would be creative, would fortify him in a creative and in an energetic way, to really create power, to have power from your pain, whatever that pain may have been, however justified or unjustified it may have been, even to him. He had the opportunity to transmute it energetically, and he declined it. So it's like, this would have been the progression, for even through your experiences. Like, say someone that's had a very abusive past, which is the vibe that I'm getting usually with someone on this vibration or frequency. There's just been something corrupt that they've encountered that, and at one point in time, they were absolutely vulnerable or victim to. But as I've said before, hurt people hurt or heal by choice. Those are the options. You're either going to hurt or you're going to heal. You're going to hurt others, or you're going to heal your trauma and you're going to move forward from it. There's really no in between, quite honestly. And it doesn't seem like he chose to heal. He chose to hurt others on account of the void that he felt. And because that he forfeited, is what I'm hearing, the opportunity to truly, it's like he played himself out of position with this Five of Swords. That's like a defeated mindset, you know, and he defeated himself out of the possibility of creating a dynasty and a legacy that would have been long lasting, you know, that would have been everlasting, even perhaps, especially when we got the Holy Spirit in the middle of all of this. I wish I could remember that word. Love overflow. Oh man, it's gonna make me so mad when it comes up earlier. But yeah, it's like this overflow of love that was divine to him by way of his experiences. Like he was to inherit this flow of spiritual cleansing. But again, as I say, you have to receive it. So if he rejected it, and by way of his activity and his intentions that continue on in a diabolical sense, in a very dishonest way, that ultimately caused him to forfeit the entitlement to this inheritance here. And it's almost dwindled down in size to a Page of Pentacles, which would be, what's this message here? That's too many. Which would be a message. All right, come on. It was kind of a little janky, but it would be a message. Well, it could be a message or an investment. Oh, okay. So he perhaps even amassed some great fortune, right? But it was fleeting because of his mentality. That's why I said this is a defeated mindset. Because of his mentality, even what he did acquire, which could have been or had the potential to be this longevity fortune experience here, fortune creativity here, it dwindled down in size to this very small investment by way of the Page of Wands, whereas now this is all he really has to show for his fortune on account of what? His lustful activity in the Knight of Wands. He could not control himself. And he could not control himself because he didn't heal himself. When you haven't discipline, this is someone who lacks discipline, who is impulsive and compulsive in the lowest vibration. That, remember, the Two of Swords popped up real quick before as a disparity between, what was it? Oh, the Two of Swords that was left behind there. It's like, yeah, he couldn't stop. He couldn't stop doing what he kept on doing. Couldn't stop, leaving women in his wake. This is literally him leaving feminine energies. It doesn't have to be limited to that, but by way of this reading, that's how it's coming off. This is someone who's loving them and leaving them, pretty much. But it's like he's mind effing them with the combination of the wand here, compulsive, impulsive, and the sword energy here, which is very mental. And leaving them kind of blind and bound and unable to really feel secure and making their, remember I was talking about security with the Six of Swords, unable to really feel secure in their own right. It's like what I'm getting here, I don't like when I'm feeling. I hear, okay, spiritual RAPE. That's what was happening here. By multiple, not in a, perhaps not always in the physical sense, if at all. Let me be clear about that, because I don't know if it ever was. But the reason why spiritual is at the forefront of that is because it's the energy that he was tainting feminine energies, or whomever was vulnerable to his prowess at this point, tainting those feminine energies. And here's the woman and the child again, the Page of Pentacles and mind effing vulnerable energies, which has come up before for sure, for this purposes of ultimately stealing and or killing and or destroying their possibilities for this abundant life. Remember I was saying like he's like jealous of those that have any access or entitlement to prosperity. This is like generational wealth here with the 10 of Pentacles. And it doesn't mean that they necessarily had money, but if he even got the sense that they could be prosperous, you know, you can tell when somebody has a high potential. You can feel that energy on a person. So it's almost like he would identify those energies that he came across in one way, shape, or form, and instead of his intention would be to align with them, almost mirror their project, like mirror himself unto them in some way, which is why he comes up as the King of Swords to the Queen of Swords, like almost wanting to show you, wanting to match your energy pretty much. But it's all fraudulent. Like I said, it's just for appearances. Also narcissistic behavior. They mirror you, and you think that you have so much in common, or there's so much synergy between you and their energy, when in fact they're really just showing you who you are, and then ultimately taking that identity, assuming it for self, projecting it out into the world as their own, and sullying yours all along the path. That's all that's here. They're on account of some jealousy and resentment, and now I feel like it's a insecurity or instability in finance, because it's like this poor little boy here, literally a poor little boy who still, even in this progression here, hasn't progressed into a Knight of Pentacles, who's someone that doesn't mind working hard for $1, you know, doesn't mind the hard work, the diligence, the discipline, the planning, the patience, to, you know, how they say slow money. You know, he ain't with slow money. He's someone that wants to get it fast and furious by any means necessary, that is lustful in his ambitions, not just fierce and focused. It's like this ambition in the Knight of Wands in this regard is, how can I say it? I can't even find a word for it, but it's aggressive, and that's putting it mildly. You know, it's more than just, especially with the 7 of Swords and the 5 of Swords on the board. Like I said, this made me feel uncomfortable. Like, this is not someone you would ultimately want to go anywhere with alone, or could feel safe with alone. But the crazy part is, literally crazy, is that you wouldn't even know it on account of the appearance of them. You wouldn't even know you were in danger on account of how they look and how they present themselves. You would actually feel like you're in good hands. You know, you might actually feel like you're safe and sound with an individual such as the King of Swords, when in actuality, he's literally a thief, a liar, perhaps even a killer. Definitely a killer of dreams, you know, because this energy here, Knight of Wands, and leaving this 2 of Swords in the background to fend for herself. But ultimately, this is someone, now in the highest vibration, I always see it as someone who actually is well taken care of, even though it may look like, which is why, back to the 7 of Swords, it may appear that he's left this energy sitting, vulnerable, you know, blind, stuck, stagnant, unable to make decisions for herself, uncertain, unsure, you know, insecure, for sure, insecure. That's the mind effing. Insecure about who she is, where she stands, what she's capable of, who's coming her way, who's not, like just completely obliterating people's mental stability and psychological soundness is what's been going on here. Probably because that's what happened to him. How and why, I don't even think I want to know, at least not in this moment, but it has to do with something that was in the past. Doesn't mean It's excused? Hell no. It's not in any way, shape, or form. Um, it's actually being called into judgment now, is what I hear, and I can say that just on account of the fact that the Seven of Swords and the freaking Five of Swords, which is defeat, is on the board. So, like I said in the beginning, he absolutely was getting away with murder. Hopefully, not actually, but definitely in this regard of psychological, of spiritual RAPE, where he was just taking advantage, like completely obliterating. It's like draining every cup he came encounter with, drinking it up for himself and leaving nothing behind for them, or leaving it tainted, leaving it tainted with all types of poisons, having a woman of valor. Yeah, heartbreak, exactly. And the Hangman. So yeah, like I said, I know I can speak to the reality that something has gone terribly wrong in this plot and plan. He's stuck now, outside of perhaps even being able to really, because there was definitely some monetary or material return for, well, I mean, that is kind of obvious too. That's not even mysterious, because like I said, if you can exalt yourself by way of being this genius, anointed, super smart, the King of Swords is like the genius in his craft. When you're looking to do something in a particular, field or so, this is like that's like the CEO, the chairman of the board. I don't know, like he's a high man on the he's an executive. He's definitely like the boss. He's not necessarily a worker in a menial regard. Yeah, here we go. Oh, okay. So we got, yeah, see what I'm saying? And it all comes out in the wash, like I said, with the Queen of Cups. Yet another feminine energy that has high value in terms of her spiritual intelligence, and that's what he was ultimately probably lustful for. Yeah, under the man, I wasn't even connecting it in that moment, but yeah, that's what he was lustful for, that psychological and that spiritual intelligence that the Queen of Wands just knows without trying to know. It just comes to her, and when you have the connection to that is, like I said, with this Ace of Cups here, it's divine almost, the type of spiritual intuition and intelligence that a Queen of Cups holds. It's in your feelings, and that's something that we can, a masculine can tap into and nurture, and even strengthen, but it doesn't come as naturally as it does to the feminine energy, because that's just our come from, that we are emotional creatures. We give life, we reproduce internally in places and spaces that are unseen, and that's a lot of where our intel comes from. We're used to connecting in that way. We're that's just our innate nature. We are honestly usually less logical creatures, and practical in most regards, before we are actually spiritual and emotional. So it's like him being in an immature, diffuse state of passion, i.e. lust, really is what it is, came to ultimately prey upon that vitality, that energy, that because he perhaps didn't feel he could completely absorb it from a natural state, he began to prey on those in the physical embodiment of it, by way of most women you encounter in some way, shape, or form, i.e. this Three of Cups here, all, an expression of this Queen of Cups, or maybe multiple expressions of Queen of Cups. in which what he left in his wake to ultimately be blocked and bound and completely depleted of their vitality on account of what he soaked up. And here, like I said, that Page of Pentacles has been laid to rest. He's literally had to sit down. This is like being, damn, like, I don't even know. I heard fall on my sword. So I don't know. Sometimes with the Four of Swords, it can almost be a voluntary retreat, if you know what I mean. And this Hangman here, where it's almost sacrificial, or that he is being sacrificed in one regard, or being hung up on the cross that he created for himself. That's what I really hear. Is by way of all of this heartbreak that he dished out, it's now coming back to haunt him. And in ways that he would have and could have moved forward into some, some really lavish lifestyle or exuberant, financial status. It's like he's not on route to that anymore. He's not on schedule to connect with that destiny at this time, because he invested his energy too diabolically to be an energetic match for that type of inheritance. It's no way. Whereas he may have made money before, it's like, it doesn't compare to what is divine to you. Like I said, it's like, it doesn't compare to the difference between, doing something strange for some change, or like, say for instance, someone that's a kingpin and they're running some type of, like, this isn't the kingpin in this sense, but maybe perhaps these two are giving me that vibes where he thought he was the motherfucking kingpin, but really he wasn't. He was just a page, in the grand scheme of things, but he maybe was operating in that function, running some type of scheme, some type of, low vibrational, maybe even underground situation of sorts. That's what I'm definitely getting. Some type of underground operation that was lucrative. It was making money. It was doing numbers, but when the tables turned, and the energy in this universe began to evolve, as I've been saying, those types of vibes can't be sustained holistically anymore. So the way that you might have been able to scam and skim and hit a lick here and there and get it off the backs of the misfortunate or unfortunate or vulnerable or whatever the case may be, it's not going down like that anymore. The universe is balancing all things. And it gave everybody warnings. The pandemic was particularly a blaring, there we go with the siren, the fire truck. It was like there was a blaring sign of emergency, of something that needed to be attended to for all in one way, shape, or form during that time. And how you responded to it, fire truck, there was a fire energetically. How you responded to it, what you did to put that fire out. Did you douse gasoline on it and make it worse? Or did you get the hose, the spiritual hose, and put it out? You know what I mean? Like, that's what it really came down to. And a lot of people actually took it as an opportunity to fan the flames. And when they did, they perhaps saw short-term results of return or reward for their energy. Back to what I was saying, ultimately is the difference between someone that's, has gotten it by diabolical means and someone that, consider you've done a lot for it and it's cool because you have it and you can make material exchanges with it, compared to, say, winning the lottery. Something just came out of nowhere and now it's all yours, and you really, like, seemingly didn't have to do much for it, but you definitely didn't have to sell your soul, but in an even more practical sense, like actually receiving some type of inheritance from, you know, someone that maybe passed on naturally, you know, and they thought enough of you to leave some money to you or some property or whatever the case may be. Like they valued your presence enough to leave something for you in their wake. That's a great disparity there, where you're just the receiver of a great gift, of which your energy has made you, just being who you are or who you were in the eyes of that benefactor is what has qualified you to receive the gift. You know, not you proving yourself or overworking yourself, outdoing yourself, overdoing yourself to gain something that ultimately you end up losing. You know, like that's the justice here ultimately. That all that he did to acquire this persona of prominence and dominance even over others, and stability and security, dare I say even wealth, was more work than it was worth when it comes all the way down to a page of pentacles in the end, and you don't have much to show for it. And then you got to face the heartbreak. Now the return is that you are being heartbroken in the place that it matters worse, with the Hangman here matched up with the Ten of Pentacles, because who wouldn't want the Ten? A character such as this don't really care much about a Ten of Cups. Who cares about spiritual fulfillment? But a Ten of Pentacles, all the money you can possibly have, all the energy, you know, even if this is in a spiritual sense, which I'm definitely feeling. This is just about being empowered, like finally reaching that status of power that you've been working for this whole entire time. You've been breaking your back to ultimately receive the evidence of this great power and prestige that you've ultimately been, you know, perpetrating, you know, for lack of a better word. And now you're stuck. Because you don't get the money, you have to deal with everything you've done. You have to also deal with the truth of yourself, which is this alignment here, where your spirit literally is sitting you down. You don't even have a choice but to really get into who you are. And for some, as I've said, that image in the mirror, the truth of it all, when you don't have all this other stuff to, like, you know, make up for it, you don't have any other projections. That's the other thing. Like, that's how he was soothing his self-image in the projections of others. Now you don't have that tactic under your belt anymore, because you've been exposed in one regard or another. Now the truth of who you actually are is not only plain for everyone to see, but it's also plain for you to see, and there's no way you can distort it. You can't get out of it. You can't shake it. You can't deflect it. You know, you can't hide it. There's no way but truth here, which is why I said, like, falling on his sword, literally the sword of truth in this regard, but on account of what? This Three of Swords, this heartbreak that's been incurred of all this mismanaged energy. And it's not heartbreak in the sense, I don't think anyway, because they say people that are highly narcissistic, which I get the sense this character is, don't really have the capacity to feel like emotional, you know, or you know, those typical conventional emotional responses like sympathy and empathy. Is much less about what he's done to anyone else as much as it is what he's incurred and how it's pretty much hung him upside down. So unfortunately, well, I don't know. There's always hope, but I don't see that visibly here as far as that I'm seeing. Like, I guess the hope is that there was some anointing and some offering for there to be a cleansing of this character. But because he rejected and kept on going, I just can't really see. I'll say this, it'll definitely be a long road to recovery for him by way of the truth. You know, because it's first going to have to mean that he's willing to actually accept the truth of who he's been, how he got here in the first place from the past, who he's committed himself to be, and the casualties that have ultimately fallen vulnerable to his tactics. You know, it's going to be hard for someone to swallow all of that, literally drink that whole cup up in one big gulp, and still be willing and able to move forward in any healed essence. You know, that's the heartbreak. It's like that he can't really just do what he's always been doing before. That's really the true heart, his true heart's desire at this time. If he could snap his finger and be able to go right back to how he did things and maybe tweak a little thing here or there, you know, make sure he don't get caught. You know, this is someone tactical, you know, making sure that he dots all his I's and crosses all his T's, now knowing all that he knows. You know, that would be the ideal resurrection for him, you know, in this regard, because what he still sees as high value is the Queen of Cups, you know, that intuitive energy, that psychic capability, and the manifestation energy. This is like cornucopia. Like he recognizes and ultimately is jealous of the fact that feminines, so he feels like feminine energies have it easy. So it is connected to those that, you know, from his childhood, maybe looking at other people who had an easier life or had a privileged life or a lot of money or a lot of opportunities or whatever it is he felt he had less of, that it was that. But perhaps the disdain, maybe even from his mother, because the Queen of Cups can be representative of a mother's energy, maybe some disdain about how she lived life or how he has blamed her for his lack or insecurities or instability in some way. Whatever that, like I said, unjustified or justified, who knows in the mind of a narcissist, you know? But he's blamed his mother, and therefore that's why it's been taken out on feminine energy continuously. You know, maybe even without intention at some points, but it just has become such a habit, you know, that's such a part of him that even in his best intentions, he still regresses back to those tactics of finessing women for you know, for the sake of punishing them, you know, getting over on them energetically, intellectually, emotionally. But he knows that the best way to do it for a feminine is emotionally. Because here, look how unsuspecting they are, just drinking it up, having a good time, celebrating. And this is, like I said, cornucopia vibes. It's like hella produce in the back. So what I was starting to say is the jealousy is about feminine energy and how they seem to have it so easy to manifest and have. It's like there's a resentment and an envy for how, you know, how the feminine energy is. This is what I'm hearing. This, just rock with me. The feminine energy is almost catered to in one regard. This is his perspective, that feminine energy, women, are protected. Maybe he felt unprotected. They're protected. They're almost expected to be taken care of in every way, shape, and form. You know, so materially, physically, emotionally, there's like a surrender to the feminine energy that he feels a resentment to. Again, this has to be mom vibes, that maybe he felt controlled or manipulated emotionally by his mother just on account of the position that she held in his life as his caretaker, his provider, you know, his authority in mental expression, in emotional expression, who he had to defer to ultimately, you know, or felt suppressed by, you know. So this is the exchange here. So he feels like but yet it feels unfair because the way that a woman is allowed to emote and to evolve and express, and even on top of that has this, like, what he recognizes as this divine energy to just make shit happen, or to manifest or, attract things into their lives without, almost even from his perspective down, without even having to think about it. Like, from what he sees, women just have it so easy. They can just have whatever they want. They have men wrapped around their finger. They're expected to be protected, but still expected to receive reward. It's like he just feels like women just are too privileged in life, and because he doesn't feel like he has in part, it's been intriguing to him too, because as much as he's resentful about it, the intrigue has always been on how he can embody that virtue and that energetic frequency to ultimately gain that same return. Like, again, the mirroring, this is deep. The mirroring, like, gain the same return and reward that a woman can ultimately harness through her power, but still be projecting himself as the force of a masculine, because he knows masculine force is powerful on its own, but there's something within him that feels like he wouldn't have to work, he didn't even have to work as hard as he just has to work smart when he embodies that feminine vibration, or manipulates it, monopolizes it, or somehow possesses it in some way. This is someone that kept a lot of women around him because he knows the power of the energetic exchange. Not only can he harvest off of their vibration of his projection of himself, like projecting himself as this valiant person, fuels his energy in return, because women treat men that they feel like they can trust and that they should value differently. They treat you like a king ultimately, when you project yourself to be one and someone that they can feel safe with and feel secure with, and feel like you're prosperous, and maybe you even good looking and smart and sexy. Like, he checked all the boxes in terms of appearances. That's why he's coming up as the King of Swords, but deep down he's really this Knight of Wands and this Page of Pentacles with the Five of Swords, and really at his darkest, the Seven of Swords, And it's like he felt like if he could just harness that feminine energy, or eternally harness that feminine energy. That's why that's always been his go-to, because for whatever reason, he never quite learned to appreciate the essence of who he is as the king, as the man. The power and authority that he wields just by the way of his own truth. Like I said, transmuting those past experiences to actually maybe even express the traumas that he experienced, so that others could find some resonation with that, and he could expand a platform on that regard. But instead, he concealed that, suppressed it, projected some other reality, and then lashed out on the energies that he's been resentful toward, i.e. women, or those that he felt like had it easy in one regard. And the exchange was harnessing, once he depleted those energies, when he mind-effed them enough and spiritually raped them enough, he left them pretty much empty. He turned the party upside down within the feminine energy. And a lot of times, without them even knowing he was doing it, I bet you there are women out here right now that don't even know that he has effed them or is still effing them. This is like they're still partying, not knowing all the while that a lot of their misfortune or instability, in a sense, has come on account of someone they encountered that's probably been long gone by now. Or he might still, like I said, keep connections to these women, or did, because I don't think he's as much able to do it anymore, or not in the way that he was with that's what it is, with higher vibrational feminine energies, because he's been demoted in stature, or exposed in some way, so that who he used to be able to attract, the caliber of women he would be able to attract, i.e. the Queen of Cups, and siphon energy from, is no longer available. They're no longer available to him. He's stuck, having to deal with his own broken heart, his own fractured spirit and psychological stability. And that's why I'm saying, like, I don't know how he's going to come out of that, because it's like everything is crumbling into him at one time. He can't do what he did. He can't, there's no clear perspective or prospect of a prosperous future at this point, because he doesn't really know much but what he's always been doing. So for someone to actually turn around, like I said, repent, be baptized, made new, do something completely different than what's ever been done before, if he were to come out of it unscathed and regenerated, he'd have a wonderful story to tell. That's a fact. Because anybody that can make a turnaround such as this authentically now, not still in the way of putting on fronts and airs and perpetrating a fraud, there's no chance for that anymore. It's all out in the open now. So if he would have really like bear all, it could be of great value not only to him, again, that transmutation of energy into pain into power, and it could be quite liberating from other energies that are probably, suffering or plagued with the same symptoms in some regard, and have no idea how to transition out of it or transform from it. So I don't know. That's crazy, right? Let me see. Is there any more I need to say here? I don't know. Yeah, judgment. Like I said, time's up. Time's up for that. Let me see what's on the bottom. Yeah, and this is the Eight of Swords, like I said. Keeping women stuck, bound in a mental prison, spiritual prison. And as I always like to say with the Eight of Swords, there's a bit of personal responsibility here when it comes to the Eight of Swords, or accountability more so, not so much responsibility, because some of these women, like I said, probably still have no idea that their misfortune is connected to him. That's the type of character that he was. He got in and he got out. Now, in some regard, he's been exposed in a way, but like what I'm saying is those that have actually been vulnerable to his antics may not even know the depth or expansiveness of his operation, which is why I was feeling like something is weird here, was just giving me real creepy vibes that they've been going off thinking they're going to a safe place with some promised land with someone who ultimately had the capability to disappear them. And even if it wasn't physically so, again, sword energy, you think you just embarking on a friendship, a relationship, a situationship with a character such as this, and come out completely having lost your mind, being trapped and snared by some mental entity that you don't even know where it came from, some psychological, what do you call it? Like a psychological, this is the evidence of like an incubus spirit. I was about to say succubus, but it's like someone that will implant something into you by, again, it could be mentally, spiritually, physically, psychologically, emotionally, but mostly by way of emotional and mental. I can't even, it's no more to say. The point is that judgment's been called, that all that, because judgment's been called on him, all that were bound by this will automatically be released in some regard. Like they won't be, because of his exposure, and with this being sword energy, like I said, it's going to bring some form of liberation and freedom to those that were connected to him, like I said, that didn't even know that he was capable of such things. It'll probably, it could be something that's exposed like virally or publicly or socially or something like that. I did say like power couple vibes, didn't I? Or that's the projection that he wanted to give off. But ultimately it's weird because what I'm just even hearing now is that he wanted the power couple vibes without the couple. Like he wanted to couple himself up with powerful individuals only to ultimately siphon all their energy and be a power house all himself. That's wild. That's so wild. But anyway, once whatever this is completely exposed, or word gets around town, because what happens with this energy is what goes around comes around, right? So all the smear campaigns and lies and treachery that he was throwing on other people's names is ultimately going to come back around, and now it's going to fall onto him, and every lie that he projected is going to be revealed. And not only that, but the true nature and essence of who he is going to be revealed. And then when it is, women will feel liberated, and or whomever his so-called victims were, because I wouldn't aspire to that term, personally. I'm just saying it for all intents and purposes. But those that were vulnerable to his antics will be liberated by way of just the exposure and the intel of whom they've been connected to. And hopefully with that, they'll gain a perspective of, new intuition and greater boundaries, even with this Two of Swords, to really protect their energy against those vibrations that surely, most likely, there was some inkling of what they were dealing with deep down, but he was always very good at projection, remember? So even when you might feel something is kind of weird or a little bit off, he does a good way of mirroring you so that you only see yourself, or only see what he wants you to see ultimately, which is ultimately him showing you the best of you for you through his eyes, so that you can almost be distracted by that perspective and not really see the true dark nature of his projection, So anyway, that's one thing. So there'll be liberation, there'll be a new opportunity for an invitation for healing, to resurrect some more healthy boundaries, to make wiser decisions and wiser decisions in relationships, and even whether they be platonic or intimate, whether they be professional, because obviously there's that here, or personal. Like I said, he's the CEO of something. Like, he's a high-powered man in some regard. So it wasn't like he was just some dude out here, finessing people for some change. It's like there was a greater and deeper and darker value that he had to gain on account of his intentions, by way of his tactics. It wasn't just about money. It was about power more than anything. And I feel like I was saying in the beginning, there's been a lot being impressed upon me by way of downloads and uploads about this spirit. This kind of spoke a little bit to it, ironically, but not in the depth that it's been coming to me, but just about there being a release and a healing of this spirit, and it's real. Now is not the time to speak on it. I know it's not, especially since my incense been burnt out, and I know y'all be burnt out when I'm posting for too long. So I'm gonna leave it here for now. But just know that if you've been vulnerable to this diabolical spirit of possession and control and manipulation, in a nutshell, this narcissistic force that's been running rampant, particularly prominent through masculine energy, but definitely not exclusive to it by any means, because we could flip-flop this energy on this table right now and it would all apply just the same. But in terms of how it's been expressed here, the spirit that I've been in touch with is about how it's particularly been running through the seed of the masculine. And what does the masculine seed do but inseminate, i.e., that spiritual RAPE, the feminine energy. So when you can taint that cup that would otherwise be pure and you know, of spiritual essence, of divine nature, it ultimately taints the whole batch, you know what I mean, of human existence. And I feel like that's what we're being cleansed from at this time. And it's a very challenging cleansing, you know, which is why I said if an energy such as this could actually be redeemed and live to tell the story powerfully, honestly, openly, hopefully that's the you know, the point here with him innately being or supposedly ordained to be the King of Swords, that he will be the one to wield that sword of truth and maybe perhaps liberate a lot of people, because it's the spirit. It's not the person. It's never the vessel. It's the spirit that is inhabiting the vessel. And we allow that spirit to enter in many different ways, but ultimately on account of us not healing from our past experiences and allowing those toxicities and traumas to fester until they almost become a cancer, and then it takes over the body in such a way that you don't even know where to start, let alone to reform your ways of being that you've always known to be, and that actually feel better and more secure to be that way, because change is hard. It just is. But in any regard, there's judgment here for all of this and for everyone. We're all under judgment at this point in time, but it's not in the sense of like bringing the hammer down. It's really about final decisions. Like, this is it. It's time to make a choice, even unto us. Like, how are you going to live the rest of your life? Are you going to continue to consent to this spiritual prison that we've all been contained in and conditioned by way of our past experiences? Or are you going to break yourself free? Because that's what the Eight of Swords has the choice to do. She can absolutely take those bandages off, take that blindfold off, and walk on out of that prison cell onto some new regeneration of life if she chooses to. Even for those that have been so-called victimized and vulnerable to these acts, there's an accountability that has to be shared on account of who you've connected your energy with when you knew better, when you felt differently, when you felt the inkling that something wasn't right. Why did you not listen to it is the question. Not to beat yourself up, not to judge, like, again, the judgment on self, to place blame or to beat yourself down or be shameful or guilty. It's about taking accountability and responsibility for the life that you're creating in every way, shape, and form. Point blank, period. We all are, ultimately accountable for this level of judgment to make decisions that would end old cycles, and that to be called, as in this judgment card is, to answer to some higher calling of authority that's been ultimately passed down to us, that we've inherited this authority over our lives that's been divinely inherited by us, because the divine trusts us to be sovereign of our spirits. It trusts us to know right from wrong, to do better as we know better. That's what this energy is giving me. That's the hope and the faith and the love of it all, that even with the worst experiences, we've been empowered and entrusted with our own vitality to make powerful decisions that ultimately would create expansive life experiences, or in the adverse would create extenuating life experiences. There's eternal life for all. It's just a matter of in which how we are creating it for ourselves. All right, so I'm done with this. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. I'll definitely be having more to say probably in the next week or so, maybe sooner, maybe later, in regards to these downloads that I've been experiencing. And it'll probably come by way more of just expression than it will the cards per se, but we'll see how the spirit moves. In any event, I'm always so grateful to anyone that watches and tunes in. I know this is a bit extended, so if you're still here, you are indeed very special. Thank you very much. I appreciate you. And yeah, but in that regard, I hope you continue to have a powerful day. And until next time, I'll leave you with peace.